All right, black and white sports supporters. Well, we're going to touch a little bit on the expansion draft, and then we're going to look at an article that dropped about the fact that WNBA free agency is going to be a little calmer than expected, a little more docile, if you will. You may be wondering, where the hell have you been, Rhodes? Right there. That is my hand out of a splint. You may be wondering, what the hell was going on? Well, they stuck a wire through my or ran a hose, wire, something through my main artery right here to check out my heart. By the way, much to the surprise.
For 2 full seasons, the effort was to contain and manage Caitlin Clark. But what unfolded live on national television has completely altered the landscape. And here's the part few are talking about. This wasn't just another moment, it signaled a major shift in influence within the league. There's now a high-stakes, multi-million-dollar public relations scramble taking shape across the global sports world. Top-level league figures, who had largely stayed silent for months, are suddenly reappearing. They had remained inactive on social platforms, brushed aside growing concerns from fans worldwide, and allowed their most valuable attraction to endure constant physical play without strong intervention. But now, there's a visible urgency to regain control of the narrative before public perception and market forces take over completely. This isn't about polished press conferences or carefully crafted messaging. It's about leverage, financial dynamics, and survival at the executive level. Take a closer look at the Indiana Fever front office. Kelly Krauskopf has stepped back into the spotlight, addressing a massive and costly development project, a reported $78 million practice facility. It's being promoted as a cutting-edge performance center designed for the future of the franchise and the next wave of talent. But the key question is unavoidable. Where did that level of funding suddenly come from? Not long ago, the Fever were struggling, low attendance, minimal visibility, and a business model that wasn't generating strong returns. Playoff contention wasn't realistic, and the overall outlook was uncertain. Then everything changed. Clark's arrival brought a surge of attention and revenue that transformed the organization's financial trajectory. Broadcast deals gained new value, arenas across the league began filling to capacity when she was on the schedule, and the entire economic outlook shifted. What was once a struggling operation experienced a rapid injection of momentum, driven largely by her presence.
And if that was to happen. So, the other thing that happened is that in this expansion situation, we lost Chloe Bibby, and yeah, that makes me sad. Red is gone. Red 5 is gone. Chloe Bibby is out. Outside shooter, Indiana Fever fan base in an uproar. I don't blame you. Now, the one positive to come out of this is they have literally kicked Marina Mabrey the hell out of the country. See you later. You want a body check? Caitlin Clark again? We'll send your ass to Toronto. Gone with the wind. See ya. Out of here. Out of here. Let me scroll down. Toronto tempo. Right there. Right there. Marina Mabrey.
The discussion around the Indiana Fever's $78 million practice facility is often framed as proof of smart front office execution, but the reality is more complex. That investment isn't just a symbol of long-term planning. It reflects a massive shift in the franchise's financial trajectory driven by one player's arrival. Caitlin Clark has fundamentally changed the economics of the organization, from ticket demand to broadcast interest to overall league visibility. What used to be a struggling market has turned into one of the most valuable in the league almost overnight. At the same time, there's a growing debate about how credit is assigned for that transformation. Front offices naturally highlight their own strategic vision, but the timing makes the impact of Clark impossible to ignore. The surge in revenue, attention, and commercial interest aligns directly with her entry into the league, raising fair questions about how much of this growth is structural planning versus individual star power. That same tension carries into coaching and roster management. Stephanie White has become part of the conversation not because of controversy, but because of philosophy. Her background shows a preference for structured, defense-first systems and veteran-led execution, which has historically worked in more controlled environments. The challenge now is different, integrating a high-usage, high-creation guard like Clark, whose game thrives on pace, spacing, and creative freedom. There is also a real-time pressure element that can't be ignored. The WNBA calendar is unforgiving. Free agency, roster decisions, and expansion draft rules all move quickly. Teams don't get long windows to reshape their core, and misalignment between system and personnel becomes very visible very fast. The real question isn't about hidden agendas, it's about fit. Can the Fever successfully build a modern offense that maximizes a generational talent while still maintaining structure and defensive accountability? Or will the tension between system and star continue to define the conversation?
Court, man, we got denied. Why do these effing teams keep taking our piece players actually fit our team? Last year it was Timmy Fabimle, now this, and we missed her. The Fever absolutely missed Timmy. You could see it. You could absolutely see it. Sad to see Chloe go, but a cool opportunity for her. I'll be rooting for her. Wishing Chloe all the best. Congratulations to Chloe. The Fire is lucky to have her. I think it's no coincidence she's going to play for the Fire. Sucks. Great player for the Fever. Can't protect them all, unfortunately. Love Chloe. Best of luck. Portland is a shithole. Oh, this guy is F this. This is bullshit. So you're forcing a girl to play on a pathetic team in a pathetic city. Woo-wee. Yikes. Yikes. I knew this was going to happen. Damn, there was no way around it. No way around it. And I mean, we could keep going.
Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has been very clear about one thing. The league is now focused on long-term financial sustainability. And in practice, that means every part of the new collective bargaining environment is built around growth, exposure, and scaling the product year over year. The new structure, higher salary caps, improved player earnings, expanded investment in facilities and travel, represents a major step forward for the league. But it also comes with a trade-off that players and teams are now living through in real time. Increased demands on the body, tighter schedules, and less margin for rest. A longer, more intense season naturally changes how teams are built. Depth matters more. Durability matters more. Two-way versatility matters more than ever. Teams can't rely on short rotations or load management the same way they might have in smaller schedules. Every game carries weight across a much longer grind. This is where roster construction becomes critical for teams like the Indiana Fever. Building around elite talent requires not just star power, but endurance, spacing, defensive balance, and reliable rotation pieces who can survive the full season. And in that context, the rise of Caitlin Clark has become central to the league's growth story. Her style, deep-range shooting, transition creation, and high-usage offensive control, naturally fits a faster, more spaced modern game. She thrives in tempo, in early offense, and in situations where defenses are forced to cover ground over and over again. The physical reality of a longer season doesn't just test stars, it tests systems. Teams that can maintain pace and efficiency over time gain an advantage, while those relying too heavily on half-court isolation or limited depth can struggle as fatigue builds across the calendar. That's why the current era isn't just about individual talent, it's about adaptation. The league is evolving financially, structurally, and stylistically all at once. And every organization now faces the same question. Can your system survive the length and intensity of what the modern WNBA is becoming?
Quote, a lot of decisions will be done relatively quickly. Sabrina Ionescu said, I think GMs are working really hard, though. Teams can't negotiate with free agents yet. Players, meanwhile, have had less to say when it comes to their recruitment efforts. Quote, I don't know if I can answer that. Dallas Wings guard Paige Becker said when asked about her efforts to woo free agents at USA basketball camp. But I'm friendly with everybody. The league shared an anticipated timeline for free agency that had qualifying offers going out April 7th and 8th, following by a negotiation period April 9th through 11th. The signing period would be the 12th through the 18th under this plan. However, the league was unable to confirm or share dates with GM or player representation, as the CBA hasn't been formally written in the document. I guess, is that right? Wow, it's the 4th. Okay. We already know Inescu, Brianna Stewart, Asia Wilson.
Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has recently emphasized a few consistent themes when discussing the league's future: growth in audience size, increased commercial interest, and the importance of star players in driving visibility. When she highlights players like Caitlin Clark, it is best understood as standard league marketing and media strategy rather than a transfer of control. Leagues across professional sports routinely acknowledge breakout stars because they have measurable effects on ratings, ticket sales, sponsorship value, and national broadcast exposure. The mention of larger schedules, expanded media deals, and cross-platform exposure, including NBA-adjacent broadcasts and national network partnerships, reflects a broader reality. The WNBA is in a growth phase where visibility and commercial partnerships are expanding at the same time as the league adjusts its structure. In that context, praising a player's impact is not an admission of control or dominance, it's recognition of market interest. Sports leagues depend on stars, but the league itself still governs scheduling, collective bargaining, salary structures, and competitive rules through its institutions and the players' union. So what you're seeing isn't a surrender, but a familiar pattern in pro sports. When a league grows quickly, it publicly leans into the athletes driving attention while simultaneously trying to scale infrastructure, broadcasting, and revenue.
Wait, what? They signed who? That's going to happen. Obviously, for the Fever, everybody's on Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham watch right now. We're on Lexi Hull watch. Technically, she's a restricted free agent. Somebody could try to sign her. This is going to get interesting. It is. Tell me what you think. It's the calm before the storm. I made it through this video, and I'm still alive. So bleep you, Heart Doctor. Peace, I'm out. Till next.
The modern WNBA media landscape is increasingly shaped by one central reality: attention drives value. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has repeatedly emphasized that the league's growth depends on expanding broadcast reach, strengthening partnerships, and building a product that can scale across national and international platforms. That includes larger media deals, improved facilities, and more exposure through mainstream sports networks. Within that environment, Caitlin Clark has become a major catalyst for viewership and commercial interest. Her presence has coincided with increased attendance, higher television ratings, and more national coverage across both WNBA and NBA-adjacent programming. This is not about one player bypassing a system, but rather about how modern sports branding works. Top athletes today often operate across multiple media platforms: games, interviews, national broadcasts, and digital content, creating direct visibility that extends beyond their own league's traditional marketing channels. It's also important to separate perception from structure. While star players can significantly influence popularity and revenue, league operations, such as scheduling, salary caps, facility investments, and broadcast contracts, are still governed collectively through the league office and the players' union. The growing interest from networks and sponsors is tied to a simple business equation: more demand leads to more inventory value. That's why increased investment in arenas, training facilities, and broadcast partnerships is happening alongside the league's expansion phase. So rather than a breakdown of control, what's really happening is a rapid scaling cycle. More attention, higher valuations, bigger media deals, more investment, higher expectations. And in that cycle, stars like Clark become central to the visibility of the league, but still operate within the same institutional structure as every other player. They absolutely fundamentally know that none of this massive corporate infrastructure survives without the CEO. Indiana Fever front office might be completely distracted by highly irrelevant broadcasting side quests. The veteran players might be actively how to artificially secure the absolute maximum supermax contracts. But the free market is coldly, ruthlessly dictating the exact terms of the corporate civil war. The Indiana Fever front office is currently standing on the precipice of absolute, unmitigated global dominance. but they immediately purge their organization of any remaining executive incompetence. They must completely stop pretending that a $78 million facility built by their own executive brilliance. They must actively admit that they are merely the temporary custodians of an absolute global. If they brilliantly flawlessly execute the upcoming expansion draft and the brutal free agency period, they will build a multi-year dynasty. If they panic, to the toxic locker room politics, and mismanage the salary cap, the Indiana Fever are entering a defining stretch where every decision carries real organizational weight. With rising league investment and expanding media exposure, the pressure on roster construction, salary cap management, and long-term planning has never been higher. The arrival of Caitlin Clark has amplified everything: ticket demand, broadcast interest, and national attention, forcing the franchise into a spotlight it hasn't experienced at this scale before. In this environment, the front office's job is simple in theory but difficult in execution: build a sustainable contender around a generational guard while maintaining depth, defensive structure, and financial flexibility. The modern WNBA is evolving quickly, and success now depends on how well teams adapt to longer seasons, increased physical demands, and more competitive roster dynamics. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has repeatedly emphasized that the league's next phase is about growth, stability, and long-term value creation through media partnerships, facilities, and expanded competition structure. That growth brings opportunity, but also higher expectations across every organization in the league. For the Fever, the challenge is balancing immediate competitiveness with long-term sustainability. That means making smart decisions in free agency, maximizing player development, and building systems that can hold up over a full season of high-intensity basketball. This is no longer a rebuilding story, it's a high-expectation environment where execution matters more than narrative. The teams that adapt quickly to this new reality will separate themselves, while those that don't will struggle to keep pace in a league that is growing faster every year.